Hello all, welcome back to Learning Partner. If you are new, please do subscribe. This is another channel where you can directly connect with me. We have around 1,000 plus members already who are working. We take live coding sessions and everything. To just get notified about those sessions, please do join this group. So in this video, we are going to implement a login and the registration page. Now, this is kind of a tutorial video. With this login and the registration page, we are going to see so many topics also, like how do we use the template form, its validation, control flow statement, API integration, routing. In routing, how do we create the default route? How do we do the navigation and dynamic class also? And the API which we are going to use is on freeprojectapi.com. It is hosted over there. You can use it. So these are the API. If you click on project API, you will go over here and here you can see the API, whatever the API you are going to use. So if this is a single API where you can see a normal login API also, token-based authentication also, reset password with OTP also. So many, these are the APIs which we normally use, or these are the kind of scenarios which we normally use when we work on an actual project, live project. Okay, so these APIs are so many helpful. So you can see send OTP, verify OTP, update password, token-based API, log authentication, everything is over here. You can use all these APIs just for your testing. Fine. Just the UI I have created already because I don't want to waste the time, because so many, if you can see those so many things I have to explain. So UI is already ready. You can use ChatGPT, any AI tool to generate the basic UI, because UI, we don't have to waste time because functionality is what we have. Okay, so here you can see we have this login page. Why it is behaving like this? If you provide over here, if you click on it, again you can see the password. On click on it, you are able to toggle between the registration and the login page, right? So this is what we are going to do. Now I have created a empty project, just a new project I have created. How do you create a project? Ng new, then project name. It will ask you like which CSS framework you need to implement. So you can select the CSS or SSS, whatever you want to use. Then it will ask the warning like, do you need a SSR? So you can simply say no and press enter. This will create your new Angular project. Fine. The project name which I have given is login 19. You can give your name. After installation of the project, I have installed Bootstrap and the font awesome. Now, how do we install that? Again, we have a command npm bootstrap, npm font awesome. I stands for install. Fine. So once you install these two commands, an entry will be added over here like that. Whatever the new version we have, that will be added over here. Once you install the Bootstrap, next thing in your angular.json, you need to add the entry of the CSS of the respective package, like bootstrap.min.css and font awesome min.css. These are nothing but in your node module. If I show you the node module, let's see the Bootstrap one. See over here, Bootstrap, then dist, then CSS, and the respective file. That same path I have added it over here. So this is what I have done, basic thing. Now let's try to see how many components we are going to need. Now, if you see the UI, we just have a single page. And in that page only, we are toggling the login and the registration form. Fine. Now let me show you the API. So this is the API to register. You can say this many object we need to send, and below you can see the login API. Whatever first you should register and use that same credential to login. This is how we are going to do. Now, first thing we have to implement this login page. Now consider whenever we are working on a web application, there are two types of web application. One is the website one. Let me close this now. We don't need it. First type of web application is the website. In website also you have login page, but navbar will be visible at all the time, correct? Second is admin panel. So whenever we talk about admin panel application, by default, only login page will be visible. Once user log in, then he get to see the navbar and everything. Because there is no content which is available without login. So if you have kind of application like that, we are going to focus over here, admin kind of application. So by default, only login page should be visible. Once we log in, then we get to see navbar and all the pages. Fine. So for that, we are going to first create the component. So in app folder, I'm going to create a folder pages. In this pages folder, I will be creating my component. Let's open a terminal. Ng generate component. First component which I'm going to need is the login. After login, we are going to navigate inside the application. So we will need one more parent container where we will have navbar and their activated route will load. So one more component I will be using, that will, I will say layout. Sorry, spelling mistake. This is the second component. Layout component is an extra component which we are going to create. Here we will have a navbar and again router outlet to load the activated route. And let's create one more component, dashboard. So once user login, we will navigate into the dashboard component. So three components we have created. Once you create the component, next thing will be we have to create the route. Fine. Let's go to route.ts, app route.ts. This is the file which we get by default. We don't have to create it. Fine. Now, here we have got an empty array route created. Now here we have to create the routes. So first path I'm going to create is for default route. Route are nothing but how many components you create, that many routes you will create. But by default, we need to load some page, correct? So that is nothing but your default route. So default route with like path will be empty. If path is empty, where you have to redirect? So redirect to and the login path. And path mesh strategy with full we have to go. This is your default route. Fine. Then we will need a login path. Login. Then your component. Login component. Okay. Then, as I said, like this is going, we are considering this is as an admin kind of application. So after that, we will need one more route with empty. You can keep it empty or you can give some admin or something also. Fine. Here, component will be layout component. And what are the component which you are going to access after the login? Those will be children of this component. All the path of that route, all the route of that component which you are going to access after the login will be created over here. Path. Currently, we just have dashboard. So let's create dashboard component. Then component, your dashboard component class name. Fine. This is going to be your structure. Let's say you have a user page employee. So all the routes will be created over here. The pages which you are going to access before login will be over here. And pages which you are going to access after the login will be children of the layout component. Okay. So now in our application, we are having two parent component. Before login, app component will be your parent component. After login, the layout component will be parent component. Fine. So this is your routing structure will be. After that, let's close it. Now we have created this. Now in app component, you get this basic code ready. Let's first run the project. Let's create a new terminal. NGS, just to run the command, either NGS or serve also you can type. Right, this is the basic code we get. Let it run quickly. Localhost 4200. By default, application will run on this port. Is it compiled? Yes. Let's reload. So see, by default it is going, and you can see in the URL login is coming and login component also rendering, but this is coming from your app component. So let's remove that, the basic code what we get. Let's remove this. Now in our app component, we will just have the router outlet, because in app component, only our login component is going to render. Again, let's say you have forgot, reset password, those component will load over here before the login. Fine. So by default login is coming. Now we need the UI. So UI, again, this is the UI I have created. Again, I have used the AI tool only just to create. You can also use the AI tool. Fine. So these are my global CSS. Let's keep this global CSS into our style.css. Some animation and everything is there. Let's copy. Now in our Angular project, if we have some global CSS, so that we put into our style.css over here. After that, we need the HTML. So this is my HTML. Let's copy. HTML will go into my login component HTML. So login HTML over here. Let's save and check if login is coming. It is coming, but it is not as per it. Why? Because if you see the CSS are considered with the body tag, but in our HTML we don't have body tag because we directly start it over here, right? So let's create one more component, one more div. Let's say parent div, just a class I'm creating. And this code, I will move it into over here. Since we don't have the body tag, but our CSS is like that. Any AI tool you will use, now it will provide like you like that. Now in style.css, whatever the CSS we have for body, that we will replace with parent div. Let's save, let's save. Now it should come proper. Now see, your login page is coming proper. Okay. Now your UI is coming. First thing we have to do the registration part. But that code, now if you click on sign up, nothing is happening. So what we need to do, if you see the UI, now let's remove this, we don't need it. Now in our single HTML component, we have two forms. This is your, wait, this is your login form and this is your sign up form. So this is the class. If I say, if I remove this class from over here and if I add it over in the sign up form, by default, you see sign up form is visible. Again, this label also we need to change. So if we need to add a dynamic class to the particular form. Okay. And here also, this button will also dynamic. See, wait, something is wrong. Active. Let's see the real version, how it was working. Just give me a quick time. So you can see by default, we have active class added over here. If I click on login, see, okay. Okay, so here on the slider, we need to add some CSS. Let's try it if what is happening. Okay, so this CSS also we need to add. If the login button is there, so you can see translate 0x is there. If I click on sign up, this is getting. So all this, whatever happening, this is happening because of JavaScript. So now same code we have to achieve with the Angular. So first we have to add a dynamic class. Now we have to implement the toggle functionality. So for that, you will create a variable because you need to record also now, like what is your current form. So you will create a variable. Fine. Let me open both the file over here. So many scenarios are. It's not a simple video where we are just going to integrate the login page. Fine. So we will say active form data type will be string. By default, I'm assigning login over here. Now this variable will decide which form is active. So if active form, now here I'm adding a dynamic class. Now you can use ng class also to add it. Let's use ng class. Ng, since this is Angular 19, so by default, all my components are standalone. So if you have to use ng class, you need to import it. Now on this element, you need to add a dynamic class. So ng class equal to. Now instead of this static, now my condition will be dynamic. So if this variable has value, let's move it bottom. If this variable has a value login, then we need to add this class, otherwise this class. So here we will add active class. And same thing we need to copy over another button also. If this is not login, means other than login, so then we will add active over here. Okay, let's just check. And we need a button also to toggle. So change view. And we will get the form name over here, data type string. Whatever the value we get, that we will store into this variable. Active form is equal to form name. And this function we will call on click of this. So on click of first button, click function. Here we will pass sign up. And here we will pass login value. Why we have got the error? Opening tag must be closed. Okay, sorry. Inside single quote we need to use. It will get confused now. Like this, like this. Fine. Let's see if we are able to toggle it. Save, save. Now if I click on sign up, something is wrong. Okay, that because of that, what do we say? This style was happening now. So if you can see, if the sign up button is there on this slider, we need to add this CSS. Let's create a class of it. Okay. And if we click on the login, we have to add this class with this 0px. So I'm going to create two classes. Instead of adding a dynamic style, I'm going to create two classes. Login animation and then just like this, sign up animation. And here we need to add this CSS. Fine. So we have created two classes, login animation and the sign up animation. That we need to add it over here. Again with the ng class, square bracket ng class. If this variable has value equal to login, then we will add our first class, that is login animation, over here, or the second class, that is sign up animation. Now it should work properly. Let's try. Login. See, now it is working fine, right? So see, whenever you actually work on a live project, there are so many scenarios we have to do. So we use ngif, ng class, ng for. These are very three directive which you can use multiple times. So many scenarios you will find where we have to use this. Fine. Now we are able to toggle the button. Now we just need to add a dynamic class also. This class, otherwise this class. So again, same thing. Now here you can see I have added a class like this. Another way to add is you can use the property binding also. You don't like in Angular 20, they are not going to deprecate ng class and ng style, but ng if they are going to deprecate. Now we have to use control flow statement only. Okay. But again, in the coming version, they might deprecate ng class and ng style also. So you should know other ways also to add a dynamic class. So I will go with normal class property binding. Now here, again, same condition. If this is there, we need to add this class, otherwise this class. Dynamic condition we are doing. Why it is saying, sorry, class. Okay. So if this is there, what was the class? This class we need to add it over here. Otherwise it will be empty. Same condition we need to copy and put it over here, and here not login. See, now our toggle should work fine now. By default login is there. If I click on sign up, see. Understood? Working fine, very. Okay. Now, first API integration we are going to do. As I said, first you should create a user, then with that user will be logging. Now, just a minute. Login and this is done, right? Now we are moving towards the API call integration. So this is my API. Let me just click on test endpoint. This is your URL. Now you can put your API call function into your component.ts also, but instead of that, you should create a service for that. See, this I am taking because login and the sign up registration process, this is very common interview machine test scenario. Once you are done with the theoretical round, now everyone will ask you to implement something, means the coding round. So login and the registration or the CRUD application, these are very famous one. Fine. Now we have created phases folder. Inside app again, we will create one more folder that will be services. Okay. Now we have to create the service folder. We have created service. Now let's create a service. ng generate service master name. Let's say user service. In user service, we are going to create API call function. Whenever you have to make the API call integration, first thing you have to do, you have to go to your app config, and here you get to say the provider array. Here you need to add provide HTTP client. Okay. To make API call using HTTP client, this is the first thing you need to do. After that, in service, you have got the constructor. So inside constructor, you can create private HTTP colon HTTP client service object you will create. Then first API call, register user. Fine. Now, here we are going to make the API call. This function we are going to call from the component. So we are going to get the object also, obj colon any. Now, instead of using any, we should create class or interface, right? So let's create one more folder, model. Now inside model folder, I will create a simple TypeScript file that will be user.model.ts. Now, this is the object we need to pass. Let's copy it. Let's create a class of it, export class user register. Again, I'm taking everything in advanced level. If you are really beginner, this will be very hard for you if you don't know what is class and interface in Angular. So make sure you complete your tutorial first, then only jump to this, because all the advanced scenario I'm covering over here. Now, how many properties we need? So user ID, data type is 0. So by default, number. Then let me just copy email. Data type will be string. Then we have your full name. Data type will be string. And then password. Data type will be string. So we created variable. We have class. So we will have an access to the constructor, because if you see, if I hover on this, it is saying like these are not initialized. So let's initialize it. This dot user ID. User ID is our primary key. So we have to initialize with 0. Remaining things are string. So we will initialize with empty. What is remaining? Full name. So we created class of it. Now in user service, instead of any, we are going to receive user model. What's the name of it? User register. Sorry. This type of data we are going to get. So we will provide a proper data type over here. Now here we are going to return this dot http dot post API call. If you check the response type, response of this API, see, we are getting the same API, right? So here you need to provide the data type also. Let's first write the API call. Let's get the URL. So this is going to be my URL. This URL I will copy. I will paste it over here. Post API needs URL and the object. Okay. Now, whatever the object you are going to get as a parameter, that you will pass it over here. This is very simple basic API call. Okay. In login function, we will modify it. But this is very basic API call function. Now we have created a class. We have created API call function. Now, in login function, we are going to use template form. So to implement the template form, first you need to create login object colon. Now data type will be register. Now register obj. Data type will be the register model which you have created. Sorry, user register. This is the model name, which class name which we have created. Since it's a class, so we can initialize it by using new keyword, right? Whatever the technology you know. Sorry. What is the model name? Forgetting. User register. So let's add the import. See, whatever the technology you know, either you are from .NET, Java, or you have learned C or C++. How do we create an object? So this is like that. We have created a class, and here we have provided a data type of this variable with this class, and we are initializing that class. Fine. Now, in your HTML, you can bind this form variable which you have created. Okay. How do we bind it? In the registration form. So this is your registration form. Okay. Now here, what are the control you have? You need to bind it over here by using template form. Okay. So ng model we have to use. So ng model, but it will give you error. If you have to use ng model in your import statement of your respective component, you need to add forms model. Then only you can use ng model. Okay. Equal to your register object dot. What you will bind it over here? What is this for? Let's say full name. Let me just minimize this. Let's see the user from what thing we had. Full name, email, password, and confirm password. That's only we need. Okay. So this is the first thing. Let's copy paste. Second is for email. Then password. We don't have confirm password. What do we have is, yeah, only three things are there. Confirm password is not needed. So let's remove this. If I save, we will get one error. Let me show you that error. See, the error is if ng model is used within a form tag, name attribute should be set. So if you are using ng model inside a form tag, then name attribute should be added. Name is equal to whatever the property name you have binded, that same name you have to provide it over here. Okay. See, I'm going very step by step. Whatever the error you are going to face, that I'm letting that happen also. So make sure you also cover those. Now, if I save, you don't see that error. Okay. Now on click of Okay, sorry, we have to do the validation also. So we have to show the validation also. Now we have binded this ng model. So this is the div for the validation. So now here at the rate if, let's add the required validation over here. First, we need to set the rules. This is required, and this is also required. I'm just going with the required validation. Now, on this property, you have to create a template reference variable. Hash name is equal to what value you will store? Ng model. This is what we are doing, validation. So name dot errors. It is giving error. Something is wrong. Yeah, double quote got completed before it. Okay. Name dot error square bracket double quote required. Okay. What it is saying? Object possibly null. So let's add a question mark dot. Okay. If in the error we have got required, then we will show a span. This is required. Just like this same, we need to create hash property everywhere with some different value. Email. Let me just copy paste this now. Here, email we have to use just like that on the password also. PWD. This is your variable you are creating. Whatever the name you want to give, you can give it. And here, PWD. Let's see if validation is working. Wait, something is wrong. Let's see by inspecting. If you, let's save it again properly. If I expand this is required is coming over here, but it's not visible over here. Why? Validation message. Why this is not visible? Something is wrong with the CSS. Let's try color. Or instead of this validation text, now let's make it text hyphen danger. Okay, it is coming, but it is disturbing my UI. Let's try. Okay, so the functionality is the prime thing. So let's say text danger. Let's copy. Let's copy this. Let's copy this. Fine. Let's quickly test it if validation are working. So by default, you can see this is required thing. Once I provide the value, see validation is going away. Okay. Now validation is properly working. Now, so on click of sign up, we need to integrate the API call. But by default, if you see, let's reload. Form is not valid. Still, I'm able to see this as a enabled. So we need to disable this button also. To disable this button, we have to create an instance of what do we say? Template reference variable on the form. So form is equal to, and here you will store ng form. Okay. Now you can use disable property on this. Instead of submit, I'm going with button square bracket disable form dot invalid. Let's save and check. So by default, you can see this is disabled. Once I provide all the required validation, then it got enabled. Okay. So we disable the form also. Now on click of this button, we need to integrate our API call. So click on register. Let's quickly create this function. Step by step we are going. You also follow the same thing, you will get it everything. Because in the machine test, you don't get to use internet, right? Someone will be looking at your system what you are doing. So you should have a hands-on experience like this. Go step by step. Now we have created our user service there. We have created already function. So we need to inject that user service into this component. So user service is equal to inject we have to use. So either you can inject your service into by using constructor also, or this is new thing what we got. This is inject, we got it from Angular 16. Okay. Now what we are going to inject? User service like this. Okay. You can say import has been automatically added at the top. Now in this function, this dot user service dot, currently we just have one function, and this function needs an argument parameter, nothing but your register object will pass dot subscribe. Which, let's write a normal result colon. What type of data you are going to get? User register only. Sorry. Inside this again one more round bracket result colon user register. Now here we are getting error because we provided a data type, like what type of data I'm going to return. We are getting error. That's because in user service function, we didn't specify the return type. So here also you can specify the return type. Observable, we are going to return observable type of data, user register data. And this same data type we need to provide over here also. This is your API call should function look like. The previous one was very basic. Now we have provided a proper response type also. Now error is not there. Okay. Now here you can see alert and user registration success. Okay. And we will have a catch block also. So error, if your API call got failed, error will execute error dot error. Okay. Let's test it if we are able to make the API call integration. Sign up. Network call, and in the network call you can put this on. This will what do we say, this will identify the API call is going or not. Okay. Now let's try to register now. Let's say test33, this is my name, test33@gmail.com. Password I'm giving it as 334455. Fine. On click of sign up, let's open the .ts also over here, that is login. Let's add a debugger and let's check 24 line number. On click of sign up, if you hover on the register object, you see whatever the data we filled into the form that we have got it into the object. Now let's continue. Yes. So subscribe block got executed means API call was success. And in the response, you can see we got true and everything. Fine. So API call is success. Now registration is done. Now let me show you the response also. If I click on the user app, let's check get all user API test endpoint. Why it is giving error? Let me just try it. Let's open this in the new. Oh, sorry, this is unauthorized. So this API is unauthorized. Unless you send the token, you won't be able to see. Anyway, let's get the data what we filled. So test, this is our login name and password was 334455. These are the credentials with what we have created. Now we have to implement the login. Now if you check after registration, this is the login API. For login, we have to send this object. Fine. Now again in the user model.ts, we will create one more object. So export class login model. Fine. Now we just need, if you see the email ID and the password, only two things we need. So let's copy this from over here. We don't need full name. Constructor I will copy. Fine. So we have created instance of our login model. Now into our login component.ts, just like on the register, we have to create login object also. Data type login model. is equal to new login model. Same thing we have done from the registration. Now this model, this object, we need to bind it to our login form. At the top, we have this login form. Now over here, square bracket, round bracket, ng model, login object dot email. You need to bind it over here. Again, name property. Same thing, we will bind it over here. Let's copy this both of the things. Let's add it on the password. Password, and same thing will go over here also. Fine. Now I'm not covering the validation. Same thing we have done it over there also. Now on click of login, we need to integrate another API. Now we have to go to our service. Again, we need to create one more API call function. So on login, let's copy paste. Everything will be same. Just over here, object. What type of data we will get? Login object. Login model. And here, register object will be there. Same thing I need to copy and put it over here. Now my URL will be login. And the response, we are going to get this response only. Fine. Now our API call function is ready. Now this we have to integrate over here only. On login, second function, this dot user service dot. Now we have to call this function over here, and you will pass your login object. Again, same thing. I'm now copy pasting this over here. And here we will say user found navigating inside. Something message you want to show. Fine. Now, and once you, let's just check first. And once user is logged in, we have to navigate also. Let's first check this. Okay, let's try to log in. So the username was, this was the email ID. And this was the, let's pass the wrong password first. On click of login. Wait, nothing is happening. We didn't call the function for, yeah, we created this function, but I think we didn't call it on the login button. Yeah, here we need to call it. Click login. Let's save it. So email ID is this, and the password, I'm passing the wrong password. Okay. On click of login, object we are getting. So by default, it is unauthorized only. Yes. So if it is unauthorized, it will go to your else block. And here we will show wrong credential something message. Let's save and check one more time. If I'm passing any data, wrong credential. Okay. Now let's pass the correct credential. This is my email ID. And password was 223344. 223344. On click of login, still why we are getting wrong credential only? What's the password we said? Okay, the password is 3344. Let's copy, paste. Now you see user found we got, because from the API we got the response. Okay, and in the data you can see the response we have got. As I said, these APIs you can use for the token based authentication also, because you get the token, refresh token, everything you can do. Whatever we have, whatever machine task you do normally when in the machine test, login, registration, JWT token implementation, refresh token, forgot password, everything is there. You can use it. Fine. Now, once user logged in successfully, means user is authenticated, we have to navigate him to the dashboard component. So to navigate from your .ts, you have to create instance of your router service. Inject. What you will do? Router service you need to inject. Then after this dot router dot navigate by URL, and where you have to navigate to the dashboard. Let's get the route of the dashboard. Dashboard. Over here you are going to navigate. And in the layout, currently we don't have anything. So here we need the navbar. Let's quickly get the bootstrap navbar. Just a normal navbar I'm keeping. Let's get this one because we are going to need that, what do we say, sign off button also. So I'm using this. Inspect, edit as HTML, copy. Now in my layout component, I will have the navbar. After the navbar, we will have router outlet again because activated route will be visible over there. If you are going to use the router outlet, you need to import it. This is I'm doing in layout component. Okay. Now let's save all and let's check if we are able to navigate. My email ID, my password. Once I click on login, user found, and you see we navigated back to the dashboard. Navbar is there and dashboard component loaded. And over here, we need to show the logged off, that log off button. But why log off button is not there? It is here. In layout component, it is here. But why it is not visible? Let's inspect. Button is there, but something is wrong. Let's see what is wrong. Why we have got this scroll bar over here? That button is going outside that. But why? Something is wrong. Why it is happening like this? App layout, navbar, router outlet, and the dashboard component we have loaded. Everything is correct. Let's remove this. We don't need this. Everything is done. I just need to show you this, like how do we implement the log off functionality. But log off button is not coming. It is going outside the screen. Let me just quickly check. Navbar. Okay, because of this class, I think. But no, we copied from over here, right? The basic thing we have, but why it is behaving like this? Collapse. Still, it is not visible. Why it's not visible? Bflex. Why button is not visible? Overflow hidden. Very strange. Which CSS I am using? Bootstrap 5 only, na? Let's quickly copy paste again. Let's copy. Why my button is not coming? Very strange. Do I have something in my CSS which is doing it something wrong? Let's search now. I don't have anything with the navbar. Button. What do we have it over deflex? Let's see if something is written in the deflex. No. Then btn. Let's go with success. Still that button is not coming. But why? Okay, button. Very strange. I'm also not able to understand why it is happening like this. Okay. Let's add a normal navbar over here. I'm sure you won't have this error. I don't know, like in CSS, I have something or what. Now here I will simply say log of. Now on click. Okay, now on click of log off. I just need to remove the local store. Sorry, one more thing I forgot. When we do the login, we need to identify like which user logged in, correct? So for that, when you log in, before navigating, we have to store the logged in data. So local storage dot set item. Either you can use session storage, local storage, cookies, or in the service also. Whatever the medium you, according to the requirement, we have to choose log data, and you will store res dot data, because in the data you are. Oh, we provided over here, but we get any over here because in the response we are getting objects. So that's why I'm going with any. Okay. Result.data over here. Now, whatever the data we get after the login, that we are storing over here. So on click of log off, we have to navigating back to the login, and we have to clear this local storage data also. Fine. So over here, href, I will just simply hash click event on log off. Let's create this function quickly. Now on click of log off, we have to navigate user back to the login page. So for that, again, router link, inject, router we have to inject, sorry. And then this dot router dot navigate by URL. And where we have to navigate? So login page. And before navigating, we have to remove the local storage data also. So remove item, because that's what identifying like user is logged in or not. So this is our key name. So this we have to pass it over here. Let's quickly check if we are able to navigate log off also. Let's go on log off. First login again. If you check the application, let me remove the local storage data. So currently we don't have anything in the local storage. Let's try to log in with this credential. This is the password. Once I click on login, see, oh, sorry. Now remember, local storage data can only store string type of data. We directly pass the object. So we have to convert it to JSON.stringify, because local storage can store only string type of data. It cannot store array or object. So while storing the data, we have to convert the object what we got into string format. Let's log off. Let's log in again, but why it didn't got removed? Something is strange. Why this data is not getting removed? Very strange. Yeah, remove. Let's try the login one more time. Email ID, the password which we created. On click of login, see, now we have stored the data into the string. Now you're able to see, right? Now on click of log up, we are navigating user back to the login, and we are removing this data also. You see it again, see that data is gone. So this is what everything you need to do whenever we have to implement the login page. Login page, registration page, again, auth guard and so many things are there. But again, like almost 1 hour is there just to complete the login and the registration process. Again, we need to add the guard also. If your API needs that token-based authentication, so we get the token, that token we need to store it, right? So many things we have to do just to complete the login module. Fine. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Make sure you implement it, because this is very common machine test scenario you are going to face. Okay. Again, if you are new, please do like, subscribe, add relevant comment, join to the WhatsApp community which we have created, because I take so many sessions also. You can join those sessions also. Fine. Thank you all.